Well, hello, this is Charlie, and really important lesson with this one, and that is creating and maintaining rapport. And for those that have seen my webinar, I think one of my webinars I had rapport covered as the second lesson. So I've taken a few slides from that, but let's dig into it a little bit deeper today because, you know, rapport is just so important. I really sort of can't emphasize how much. So let's get into it. So rapport, what is rapport? A good way to think about it is this. This wasn't in the webinar, but it's reducing the difference between oneself and others at an unconscious level to promote or produce a harmonious relationship. And you know, many of the people, you know, on this program, it's because there wasn't enough harmonious relationship going on. So rapport is key. You know, rapport is very, very important. So let's just take a look at this diagram. So let's say circle on the left represents one person and the circle on the right represents another person. And you can see that within each person there's a few things going on. We've got IP. So let's call IP internal processing. Let's call IS their internal state. And EB we'll call external behaviors. So another way to put it, IP is what you think, IS is what you feel, and the external behaviors is what you do. Now, when you go and approach your partner or a stranger or a sales appointment or whatever it is, you know, you don't know what they're thinking. And when you first meet someone, you don't really know how they're feeling. So really, it's left down to starting to match the external behaviors is what they're doing, okay? So keep that in mind. So now I think we said rapport. I want you to make the distinction about what is often a short period of time when you're present and you make a connection in the same immediate space with another person in that moment. Okay, that's when you're in rapport. So you're in rapport when, you know, your tempos match, your speaking volume is about the same, and the body language reflects the other person. The breathing rate is similar, and rapport can last seconds, minutes, or sometimes even hours. Now, if you're talking with your partner and you're sitting at a table and your partner's at the sink, even if it's friendly talk and you're just discussing the day, you're not actually in rapport. Okay, you're not actually connected. They're standing, you're sitting, they're doing the dishes, you're reading the paper, but you're having a talk. That's not rapport. Okay, and rapport, as I often speak to a lot of people, and they say, well, it's you know, I've got a good rapport with my wife. And it's like they're talking about rapport like it's something over the long term. No, rapport is in the moment. You know, you're in rapport or you're not in rapport. And most of the day you won't be in rapport. But what I'm saying here is that it is critical from a domestic point of view is that you get into rapport at least once a day. So what is rapport? Okay, so rapport is a connection from one moment to the next. Rapport can be built in seconds. You know, I'll give you a side story here. You know, I used to work as a sales consultant. I used to do financial planning, and you know, I used to be the guy that would go out and speak to Mr. and Mrs. Joe Blow Average in the kitchen, around the table, and talk about retirement planning. You know, I'd often go into a house, and you know, I might be the lady that answers me at the door, and I'd walk in, and I could tell very quickly, you know, this particular person might have been well spoken. And we walk in, and I used to, you know, have a look around the house as I sort of first walked in. And if I ever saw something that was similar to my mother, I would turn around and say, oh, Mrs. Jones, my goodness, my mother had a set of those. Now, consciously, what the lady here hears is that this guy who's just walked into my house, his mother had a set of those. But at an unconscious level, what she gathered that this guy might be like my son. And so just that one comment about, hey, and what it says, it was a little bit distracting, but what it says at an unconscious level is, I'm like you, okay? And when I'm like you, it creates rapport. Because people like people who are like themselves. Now, and I talk about flexibility. So the flexibility there is your ability to go into their world. Your ability is to go and match their external behaviors, okay? So rapport can be built in seconds. And I'd often say something like that comment about something in someone's house, and bang, we're in rapport. You know, I can see the walls go down, they start to relax. You know, I'm from a respectable family like them. Okay, so you can drop out of rapport in a split second. And I think we all know that. You know, sometimes we've said something and immediately we've seen a reaction from the other person. So each day you go into rapport a number of times. Now you'll have, you know, if you go to work and you've got a good work buddy there, you know, let's say cigarette smokers, you go out and have a smoke at whatever time of day, you know, chances are you'll sit the same way because you're in rapport naturally. There'll be people that you naturally rapport with, and there'll be people that you don't naturally rapport with. And so what we need to be as the great communicators is have that flexibility to, when we come across someone that's naturally not like ourselves, is to adjust our own behavior and move into their world. Okay, so another side story, some of you may be aware that I used to work in 5-star hotels. And a classic example of this is when someone comes to check in. And I might have been behind the front desk and someone walks up and the guy's walking a little bit faster than most people. He comes up to the desk and says, I'm here to check in. So what I want to do as a person behind the desk who's good at creating rapport, I go to sir, what's your name? Sir? Thank you, Mr. Smith. Great, go over and grab his registration card. Thanks, Mr. Smith, I'll just get you to sign there. Just need to get a credit card from you. And he'll say, thank you. What time is check-in? No, the room's ready now, Mr. Smith, thank you. So this guy's operating at tempo. So if I want to create rapport with this guy, I immediately need to raise my tempo to be like him. Now, he's not consciously thinking, look at this guy, all of a sudden speed up because I've walked up to the desk. That's not what he thinks. What he thinks at an unconscious level is, I like this guy. He moves at my pace. You know, and if he comes back to the desk later on, he will look for me because he knows that this is a guy who's in a hurry. I sense that he's in a hurry, and when I deal with this guy, I pick up the pace. Okay, so I get rapport with this guy just by matching his tempo. And when you don't match, okay, this is when you start to create, you know, wedges in between you. So on the flip side of that, imagine, you know, I'm working at the front desk of a hotel and in comes a bloke and he's just driven 7 hours from out the back of Queensland. And he walks in and he goes, all right, this is a bit of all right, isn't it? Nice place, nice place. Now, if I'm behind the front desk and I want to create rapport with that, turn around, and my natural pace, I would actually need to slow down in this case. And I go, oh yeah, it's a pretty nice hotel, Mr. Sorry, what was your name? Mr. Johnston. Yeah, you're gonna love it here. And Mr. Johnson, what he hears is, I'm gonna love it here. But at an unconscious level, he thinks, oh, I wonder if this guy's also from the country, which I am. So matching rapport with those sort of guys was never an issue for me. Okay, so it's about you moving to the other person's world. And there's so many ways, and at the end of this class, I'm going to give you a link to a great video I found online from Tony Robbins. Now, you know, Tony's very, very good. You know, there's other speakers that I enjoy more, but I think this one video on rapport is gold, because it goes through so many areas where you can match and create rapport. Okay, so rapport usually with a number of different people. Yeah, so during the day you would you know, have rapport with a number of different people at certain times. Most of the time, if you're working on your own, you're not in rapport with anyone. Okay, but it might be when you go over to the photocopier to do that printing. You know, opportunities to build rapport are, you know, they're scattered right throughout your day. Most of the time, you don't even sort of think about creating rapport. It's Johnny, you know him, he knows you. But what I want you to start now getting into the habit of is thinking about building rapport at an unconscious level. So building rapport so they don't notice it, the other person doesn't notice it. Because if they do notice it, then it looks like you're just mimicking, couldn't say that, mimicking them. Okay, and we don't want that. We don't want that. We don't want the fact that you are moving to their world to come up into their consciousness. We want it to be at an unconscious level. And so, you know, I think Tony Robbins says in this video that's coming, you know, if the person uncrosses the leg, well, you don't need to uncross your leg straight away. You do it a little bit more subtly than that. Okay, so maintaining rapport takes some flexibility, okay, and a decision to flex. Okay, most of the world goes around saying, you come to my world, you come to my world, you come around to my way of thinking. Now, people in Change Thinking 2020, we're going to go, let me go to your world, let me go to where you are, let me go to where you are. Because through this training, what we're going to become is more flexible to slow right down if we need to, and we're also going to build the ability to speed up really well if we need to. You know, it's like, volume, and I think one of the things that Tony talks about in the video that's coming is tone. I mean, yesterday I made a phone call. Someone's booked a strategy call with me, but they've booked it twice. They've booked one at 1 o'clock and one at 5 o'clock. Now, at the moment, my diary has the same person logged in 2 places. And whilst that's taking up a spot in my diary, it means nobody else can pick that time. So I needed to call the lady to find out. You know, I'm not sure if you're aware, but you've booked 2 times, 1 o'clock and 5 o'clock. Pardon me. Which time did you prefer? Because we know I'll go and cancel the other one and make that available for somebody else. Now, I don't know. All I know is this lady's name is Amanda. Okay? And so I called the phone, and the recorded message said something like this. Hello, it's Amanda. I'm sorry I can't take your call at the moment, but leave your name and leave a number and I'll call you back. Hi Amanda, this is Charlie from A Brighter Tomorrow. Just ringing because I'm not sure whether you're aware, but you've booked 1 o'clock and 5 o'clock. I'm not sure if you meant to book 2, but if you can let me know which one that you don't want, I'll go and cancel it and make space for somebody else. Thanks Amanda, have a great day. Bam. Okay, so I went to her world. I sort of matched her tonality. And what that does at an unconscious level on the phone is, I'm looking forward to this call. This guy speaks in that low, husky type of voice, just like me. Okay, so I'm creating rapport. And if I got on the phone and went, yeah, hi man, it's Charlie here from... She's like, oh my God, do I really want to speak to this guy? But I didn't. I'm the flexible one, so I moved to their world. We need to move to the other person's world. Okay, so when you're in rapport, you're far more likely to agree. Okay, and when Amanda gets on the phone this afternoon, and I first call that number, and hopefully she picks up the phone because we've got the time. Hi, it's Amanda. Hi, Amanda. It's Charlie. How you going? And I will continue to talk in that sort of tone of voice. Certainly for the start of the call. Because the whole idea of rapport is when we get into rapport, then the idea is to then lead them to a new place. Okay, and that's really what motivators do. Motivational speakers. They come in, they start matching rapport, and then slowly, bit by bit, they start working it up. They start working the crowd. They start working the crowd, and they start waving their arms. And the next thing you know, the motivator has just paced everybody and then led them to a different internal state. Okay, and if we go back to that original, with the circles, what they've done is match the external behavior. Okay, and by matching the internal behavior, then they've started to feel like the other people feel, process the world the way the other people do, and then you can lead them to a new place.